basically, what is neutral? Neutral is you standing in your natural stance, belly always pulled in nice and tight. You have a natural little curve in the neck and a natural little curve in the lower back. So this is where you want to be standing most of the time. Never tucked and never exaggerated. Or leaning into one hip, which is quite common. So I'm just going to take this to the mat and show you neutral spine on the mat. So very importantly, when would you use neutral and when would you use imprint? You should never force your lower back to be pushing down into the mat, but just to lock in your hips with your lower rib cage, protects the lumbar spine, your lower back, when your legs are leaving your body. So if you're going into bicycle or extensions, because remember the legs are heavy, so as soon as they leave your powerhouse, everything here is straining to hold together. So your belly to your spine and your imprint protects your lumbar spine from coming up and down throughout this movement with the legs. So if you can't actually maintain your imprint, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't for a long time when I was first starting out. I found it very, very hard, especially after so many reps and you get tired and the back comes up and you actually forget that it's come up, and then later on you feel it quite painful in the lower back. So the best thing to do is, which I'm going to show you now, is to either get you can use a hoodie, whatever it is, just to roll underneath your tailbone, not your lower back. Or what I do is sometimes, when I'm not 100% sure that I'm executing it properly because I'm tired, I will roll my mat just under the tailbone so that you're actually forcing the imprint. So for some of my clients who can't go into imprint and maintain their imprint throughout a flow, an exercise flow, I will help them to force the imprint. So you'll see now where I showed you how to execute an imprint, that the mat actually enables the hips to come closer to the lower rib cage. So I take it away, you go back into neutral. Put the mat back, remember it must be under the tailbone, not under the lower back, and you've got yourself a little forced imprint. So your lower back will stay down when your legs come up and you've gone through your bicycle or your scissors. You've got to maintain that imprint. It's no good having your back coming up and down, up and down. So belly to spine, and you want to keep this area as close to the mat as possible. Okay, so the first of the three-way crunch, feet to the floor, which means we can stay in neutral spine. There's no worries about the back coming up off the mat because the feet are to the floor. They're not going to be weighing you down and forcing your back up. So stay in neutral for this one. Okay, feet to the floor. And then of course you have to be careful not to work your chin into the exercise and overwork the neck. So you're gazing up, keeping a little distance, an egg distance between the chin and the chest, and not pulling on your head. In fact, I ask my clients to rather put their arms by their sides, just to remind them not to be tugging hard. But if you feel tired because the head is heavy, it's no problem if you rest your head in your hands. Keep the elbows wide, breathe in, stay in your neutral, so I can still put my hand under there. Big in-breath, out-breath, and I'm still in neutral. Holding and coming down. In-breath, out-breath. breath on the movement. Breathe in again when you need to, coming down. Out breath up. And still in neutral. I haven't pushed my back into the ground in order to come up as far as I can. That is really overworking back, not abdominals. So in breath down and out breath up. If you're doing it like this, nice and slowly, very carefully, and creating some body awareness, staying in your neutral, not forcing an imprint into a crunch when you don't need it, you're definitely going to be feeling it here more than you're going to be feeling it there. Here's my ball for this one. So, you're going to prop your feet on the ball. Just make sure your shins stay parallel to the floor. Knees in line with the hips. Still maintaining your neutral spine. So I can still put my hand under my lower back. Not forcing it, just normal. Okay, same thing again. Breathe in. And on your out breath, you are crunching up. Don't push on the head. Count 1, 2, 3. And back down again. Right, we've got one more in the three-way crunch. So I'm not going to be using the ball for this one. You can cheat and put your feet up on a wall if you want to, but basically the third part of the three-way crunch is legs straight up. So in a flow, I might have done 30 of these, 30 with the shins parallel to the floor, and then 30 straight-legged crunches. Now, if your hamstrings aren't too tight, you're going to be able to get your legs nice and straight and your ankles in line with your hips. But if you're like most people, you've got tight hamstrings, you're going to find yourself bending your knees a little bit, and that's okay. We're going to work through flexibility after my mobility series, so don't worry too much about that for now. But the third one in the three-way crunch is going to be straight legs. Again, you don't have to force an imprint with this one because your legs aren't going anywhere. They're here. If you're finding the legs too heavy, just holding them here, you can bend the knees slightly. And I would complete the series with 30 of these. Not pushing my lower back into the ground, into the mat. You could also do it with your arms by your sides. So this is where the feet are going to be moving away from the upper body. So we need to maintain our imprint. Alright, so earlier on I chatted to you about rolling your mat. If you feel that you can't imprint on your own, do so. Get it under your tailbone, and as soon as your feet are up, or before you take your feet up, make sure you squeeze your belly to the spine and you're in your imprint. So your hips are now higher than your lower rib cage. They're not level anymore as they were in neutral. The hips are higher. And slowly you can take one foot at a time off. And we're back to shins parallel to the floor like we were with our crunches. Support your head. Squeeze your belly to the spine and also squeeze your pelvic floor. Big in-breath and on the out-breath, without letting your back come up, tap your feet and bring them back up again. So if you execute these movements really nice and slowly, you are able to have more control. You don't want to get into swinging. You want to control the movement so the back isn't going up and down. Squeeze the belly in and tap, bring it back. Tap. And what I often ask my clients to do is put their hands on the lower abdominal area. So if you find that on the tap, your belly is pushing your hand out, you know you're doing it wrong. It should be in. In breath, and imagine the balloon with all the air coming out of it now. It flattens. Breathe into the balloon, fill it with air. And another thing that's important is you stay in neutral with your neck. You're not trying to push your neck, your chin down to your chest, but you're opening your chest and closing the scapula underneath you. You usually try to depress the scapula throughout any exercises. You don't want your shoulders up by your ears. So it's the same here with the mat work. Work your shoulders down, open the chest. So, shins parallel, big in-breath, and I'm going to close down here. Belly to the spine on the out-breath. Flatten the balloon. Breathe in, coming back. This time I'm going to alternate, so I'm going to let my left leg go now. Big in-breath. On the out-breath, squeeze the pelvic floor, belly to the spine, maintain that imprint. Nothing's coming up and down, up and down. It's all happening here. Sometimes I explain to my clients to try and help them maintain the imprint and try and visualize it, that they've got two old elastic bands, one attaching here all the way down the leg, the right leg, and one attaching there at the lower rib cage all the way down the left leg, and they're very old, so you are very wary of them snapping. So when you do an exercise like the leg extensions, you don't want to just shoot the leg out in case it snaps. So slowly, slowly, keep thinking about that elastic band, keep your imprint, let the band pull out slowly, and then bring it together, slowly. It's better to start slow, start easy and careful, and ease your way through. With my clients, usually I teach them plank flows only after I'm 100% sure that they've got basic plank right, that they're holding themselves properly with basic plank. Because planking is harder than anyone thinks. It's actually quite hard because your whole body is in on the action. So multi-muscles, tightening, it's fatiguing to hold yourself in plank, especially if you've got quite a lot of body weight to be holding. So yeah, you have to pay attention to shoulder placement, and I'm going to show you right now how you do that. So I really work my way through push-ups by advancing through different variations of push-ups, not just by sticking to the same thing all the time. So to progress, as you start to feel stronger, you can start introducing some more fun ways to do push-up, uneven push-ups, step push-ups. But you don't want to even go there until you're 100% sure that you're executing the basic one properly first. So now we're going to move on to basic plank. Planks, as I said, are quite a challenge for some, so especially holding the body correctly when you're tired. So we're going to go into dolphin. So on the forearms, first thing you're checking in plank is shoulder placement. The shoulder and the elbow should be in line. The shoulder should be away from the ears, belly to the spine, head in line with the spine, squeezing the belly to the spine, squeezing the pelvic floor. And I like to squeeze my quads, so squeeze the muscle above the knees. We're going to do it on the knees. Okay, so with push-up, you want, when you come down, for your chest to be coming down between the hands. But first of all, what I've done is I've switched on my powerhouse, just like I did with the mat work, the abdominal work. I've squeezed my belly to the spine, squeeze my pelvic floor. I'm ready with my in-breath, and on my out-breath, I'm not exaggerating my neutral, I'm not exaggerating my imprint. I'm just holding myself naturally, but squeezing tight, belly to spine. Big in-breath on the out-breath. You're coming down and pushing through your hands to come up. So some of you will find it hard even to execute the basic push-up. So what I like to do is a little stretch in between. So it's the catapult push-up, I call it. Stretch back, come forward, come down, come up. So you have a nice little stretch in between. We've run through all the basics for BYOG beginners. So we've done a bit of planking, a little bit of crunches, a bit of extensions, push-ups, and a nice mobility flow. So all the mobility exercises we did in the beginning, we're going to put a few of them together, and that's kind of like a lovely mobility warm-up before you get training and working with weights or doing